Hi and welcome to a new and sweaty episode of the State of the Net podcast. I'm Paolo Valdemarin.
And I'm Euan Simple.
And it is 31 degrees in London. And we're enjoying the beautiful summertime.
Well, I can tell that it's very hot because you acknowledged that it was hot, which I think is a first.
Well, I enjoy hot weather, so...
I like hot too. But in fact, my kids were just saying that I go very brown in the sun, and they've decided that I've got some gene in his family's history, because I certainly don't look like a Scot when it gets hot. I get very brown.
Yes, a friend recently offered to... There was a deal with 23andMe DNA analysis at a discounted price for two, and I still don't want to spend the 90 quid, so I'm not doing it. But
no.
Sooner or later, by the time it hits 50, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I suppose so. I'm not fascinated by it, but yeah, just as a geek who has to play with things, I might have to.
I got some feedback about the last episode, and I've been told that I was talking too much.
Oh.
I think
that was worth me slipping them a £5 then, wasn't it?
Well, I think that the problem is that since you went all nice and balanced and have decided to stop interrupting me, it's your fault.
I've just gone in the huff. I'm just not going to talk. That's what's happened.
So I'll try to...
Okay, so on the listeners' behalf, I will now interrupt you on a regular basis, Paolo.
Okay, thank you.
I've got people to look after here.
Yeah, exactly. That should keep us more balanced.
Well, yeah.
So
we're both unbalanced, so that.
Yeah, it's all good. So did you watch the WWDC keynote?
I did, yeah, and I, hands up, we're both Apple fanboys, but I really, really enjoyed it. And obviously, with COVID, they weren't able to have the usual massive, great conference that they do, but they just did it very cleverly, and I thought that the linking was great. Being able to see inside the Apple campus was really interesting. I thought they had a fantastic mix of presenters in all sorts of diversity, and they were all really good, and it's an incredible density of information. And the biggest thing was there was just so much really cool stuff that they were announcing. I mean, it could have been easy for us to just have had a taking over kind of a keynote, but it was just full of great things. So I can't wait to get hold of the public betas.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, the number of new things announced, and it's the end of an era, both in terms of moving to Apple Silicon and the next Mac OS is going to be Mac OS 11.
I know, and heading in a good direction. I've just been listening to a couple of other podcasts around this, and the hardcore Mac computer users always fret about things getting dumbed down or taken over by iOS, but what they've been announcing and showing with what they can do with the ARM-based processors, and the ability to continue to run umpteen different OSs, and even kernel extensions are still going to continue to work. So there's a whole bunch of deep down hardcore stuff that, if anything, is actually getting more accessible and better. So they've obviously listened to the professional communities of various types that they still need proper computing. But and I love the fact that because they're going to be on the same silicon as the iOS devices, bizarrely any app, so they say, that you've got on your phone will just run on your Mac. Incredible.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting, and I like maybe in some situation was even a bit too polished. It was clearly, it had been edited. They probably had multiple takes. So it was very, very, very smooth. What I appreciated was the lack of applause.
Yes.
How usually
all the staff giving
you have this room full of. Look, I've been there. the feeling is enthusiastic. So they do, and we'll have rounded corner icons, and and in this, and I mean, while I was watching it, there were moments where I was thinking, oh, this would have been an applause moment, and clearly it wasn't there. He was still presenting as if he was kind of waiting for a feedback. Which of course was not coming, but no, I mean it's very, very good. What was your favorite new thing?
Oh gosh, so many where to start. Well, probably given that my watch these days is my favorite device, I liked some of the stuff that's coming to the watch and things like the sleep tracking, whatever else that's been rumored for quite a long time, and being able to have multiple complications for the same app on the same watch face is going to be really useful.
Dance tracking.
Say again, sorry? The hand washing, yes.
You be able to track all your dance routines?
Well, that's not... the once in a blue moon that I actually do it, yes, that will be useful. But no, I don't think there was a particular one thing. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with widgets on the phone. I mean, I do use widgets. I mean, I keep tinkering and changing the way I use my phone, but I tend not to navigate by icons. I'll just search for... I've got a few on the... Well, to be clear, I don't have any icons on my actual homepage. I only have the 3 that are in the dock, and those are sort of ones that I use all the time and are sort of work-focused. I then have to swipe to get to a page of the... Again, mostly work-focused ones that I use regularly, but everything else I get to by search. So for me, the stuff that they're going to do with Siri and surfacing apps is going to be really useful. Actually, one of the most exciting things probably was the on-device Siri functionality. So that should make Siri much faster, and it also enables the Translate app, which looks really cool. And you could talk to me in Italian and I could understand and talk back in Scottish.
I think that my favorite features were everything they're doing with the pencil on iPad.
Yeah, that as well.
Because, I mean, to me, that should have already been in. And I know, I get it. You know, you can't include all the features in the first iteration, so it took a while. Because there was some level of kind of behind the curtain text to, you know, handwriting to text translation.
Yes,
now
yes.
It's basically coming in front prominently. And I know
and the ability to do that in dialogue boxes as well is really good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are some note-taking apps that actually were already doing a better job, but I mean, the fact that this becomes integrated in the OS means that it's available everywhere.
I feel sorry for them and the watch sleep apps who've just been well and truly Sherlocked, haven't they?
Yeah. Well, I mean that's life. And I guess that the other thing that I'm kind of more looking forward to is the iteration on the integration of the AirPods Pros.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Seamlessly transition between devices. No idea how that's going to work, but I mean, I've been using them for a month now, and they were a little bit uncomfortable for the first few days. Now I'm actually don't have any problem. They work so well, but having to switch between devices, and of course I switch between my Mac, my phone, my iPad all the time, is a bit of a pain. Plus, on macOS is a little bit unstable, so every once in a while the whole Bluetooth stack goes down. So they improving this, and also the new spatial sound thing.
Incredible. As a former sound engineer, that was just mind-bending how they're doing that, and the way it moves when your head moves. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, it moves. The sound doesn't move when your head moves, and it's relative to your device. So, I mean, the interesting thing is basically if you and your devices are moving at the same time, sound will not move relatively. I mean, brilliant. I mean, let's see how it works. But
I may have to weaken and buy some.
I totally can't wait to see that.
I mean, actually, what I'm doing normally, I have a pair of Anchor headphones, which are actually really good. They sound great on them. but they don't do any sort of pairing very easily. So what I've ended up doing is pairing them to my watch. And it's really working for me because on the basis that my watch is always on me, and I can listen to podcasts and audiobooks from the watch, so it synchronizes overnight. So that's been successful for me, but I can see me having to weaken and get a pair of the
the thing
AirPods.
is that I like using them for all Zoom calls.
Yeah.
Because from the little tests I made, they are the best. I mean, okay, except for this, the big microphone, but of all the other headphones I have, they sound much better.
Oh,
so
really?
I
So
like
the mic's good in
the
them.
microphone, so
Right.
I sound better to other people. And
Interesting.
I kind of care about audio quality, so I like to use them for Zoom, but then of course I use them for podcast and I use them so I keep switching between devices. But it works. But it's mostly work. I have no idea how it's going to do it automatically, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I just assumed that it was on the basis that if a device within range invokes and brings to the front an audio app, it switches.
Yeah.
I can sort of anticipate situations where that's not what you want it to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're on a well, exactly. But then, if you're on a call with somebody, probably that will hold the connection to the. So
Yeah.
I started thinking what it could be, and it started to become a little bit complicated without too many branches in the logic. But of course, nowadays they use machine learning for all these kind of things. So they have very clever algorithm that decide. It's like the way your phone decides how much to use Wi-Fi or 4G or a mix of the two based on situation. It's a very sophisticated AI-based logic, and it works. It just you forget that it's there, and it just works.
Yeah, you're right. It's that. For all the fallibility of AI or machine learning that we've talked about on the podcast before, but it's those sort of little daily niceties that just, can be quite a pain in the bum, but just suddenly disappear when the technology gets clever enough to just get rid of it all. I love that sort of stuff.
Well, I think that is where being a huge company with millions of devices installed all over the planet helps. Because you basically, if you can observe the behavior of millions of users and feed this behavior to a machine learning algorithm, especially when the behavior is related to a very small thing where you don't have that many options, but the way you choose can be dependent on a number of on the context or on a number of other things. That is where you can actually make things much better by replacing a simple logic-based switch with an AI, and it just makes everything smoother and way more
also
complicated.
But owning the as has been so often said, the platforms and the hardware. And somebody was expressing a concern on one of the podcasts that Apple, with the steps towards ARM processors and the computers, are just likely to become even more dominant in the sense that they can make stuff like this happen, that handoff. Can you imagine trying that between devices made by different people running Android or Windows? That's just really, really unlikely to happen at that level of success. So it's that ease of use that was what attracted most of us to the Apple environment anyway, and it looks to be just getting better and better.
Well, I guess the challenge is that the bigger you become as a company, the more money you make. If you're good at reinvesting that money in your infrastructure, you can improve. But of course, this creates this virtuous cycle, and you just become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I was having a discussion earlier today with a colleague about the whole 30% App Store Hey app debate. And I've read a bunch of articles, and I think particularly Brian Simmons was saying the App Store doesn't bring very much to. I mean, these days people don't find you because of the Apple Store. They just find you in the Apple Store.
It's introduced its own obscurity, hasn't it?
Yeah. They don't. So I mean, they're not marketing for you. He was arguing that all the safety that is supposed to come from the App Store could very well come from other technology and other type of constraints. If you can buy an app from a website for your Mac, you should be able to buy an app from. It's a valid argument. But
you don't sound convinced, nor was I.
I was mostly thinking of, you have people saying, Apple is just stealing 30% of my money.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, the reason why, for example, you can download all the development tools from Apple to build for Apple, and you now don't have to pay for them, is probably because they use some of the money that they make there to make this available to you. The fact that they are creating new operating systems and they are introducing new features and they are holding this amazing meeting for developers, that is money that they make, among other things, with that 30%. So I mean, it's not like they're using this 30% they're getting to go on holiday. I mean, they're using this money to improve the product that you build your product upon. So if you take away that 30% from Apple, well, Apple would have less money to do some of the stuff. They would have to charge something else somewhere else. So
it's interesting because there's a couple of things that were related, if you like. One was I saw an interview with CBC, I think at CBS rather, with Tim Cook before the keynote.
Oh, that was brilliant. I saw it too, yes.
Yeah, and when he quizzed them about taxes, and, I understand people's concern that particularly in this country, people at Amazon and Apple can get away with pretty much not paying any taxes. But I also have sympathy for Tim Cook saying, well, sort your laws out then. Because he's sort of saying, well, we pay what the law tells us to pay. It would be, he can't as the chief exec tell them not to try to pay as little as possible, So there is that funny cat and mouse thing.
Yeah,
but the other one was with a friend of mine, Tom Lismore, wrote something, and I haven't had a chance to read it properly, but in Business Insider about and we should talk about this as well, the failed British NHS tracking app, and I've only read the headline, so I don't know whether the content backs this up, but basically expressing concern that Apple and Google were able to hold the government system to ransom in a sense. And I just on a quick glance at it thought, well, yeah, but you know what? And this is going to maybe sound outrageous to some people, but I'm sort of more inclined to trust Apple than my own government.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think we already said this. I mean, we totally trust way more, which is crazy. I mean, the taxes thing. Let's put it this way: if you can promise me that there are no lobbyists in Washington and in London and in Rome and everywhere else lobbying local government to get more favorable laws to pay less taxes for these companies, then I would be with you. But if you're actually using all the money you have to try to influence the government, so you have to pay less taxes. I mean, this whole argument, I'm paying the taxes that I have to pay, but then I offer, $100 million. It's like, okay, probably you have to pay way more than $100 million of taxes.
Drop in the ocean.
Probably $100 million. It's not huge. I mean, it's huge, but it's not huge.
No.
And then maybe it would be good if it was the state to decide how to use the money and not you, because maybe we need it for somewhere else. So, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of okay, I get it. And I do appreciate the fact that, probably, especially if you have a government like that, you're saying, okay, I think I can spend my money better than you can. And probably you would just spend my tax money to buy tanks for the police. But it's a tricky one. I mean, I'm always a little bit it's one of those things where it's hard to say, okay, I have a very clear idea about which way we should go.
But one of the other things he said, I thought also related to this and to civic society. And, everybody's obviously going to think, well, the technology and the devices are accelerating our descent into a dystopian nightmare. But Tim Cook also made the point that, any injustices have eventually been, well, those that have been redressed have been because somebody was there and saw something. And in the modern age, that means having a camera there. And a lot of the examples they had was of the race riots in the 60s in the States, where people were horrified at seeing what happened for the first time. And of course now, Apple kicking it off with the iPhone, but obviously with the Google phones as well, everybody has a phone in their pocket with a camera on it. And that is beginning to surface stuff that would otherwise just be hidden, which is, such a positive thing in the long run.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, to some degree, I'm always a little bit unsure about the ratio of influence that these companies have compared to how much money they have. So you have a company worth $1.5 trillion. I mean, it's almost impossible to imagine something like that. And you have the CEO reacting to, oh, well, now everybody has a camera. What do you think about the impact? And he's going, oh, it's amazing, right? He said, well, okay, really? I mean, we have not thought about this. Isn't this... Shouldn't you be spending some of that money to try to understand the society better and what your impact on society is? I know that you want to build the greatest possible product at the intersection between technology and liberal arts, but you invested $100 million. I have started using when I work with founders, and one of the first thing I tell them is you need to figure out how much money you want to make. It's in 10 years, how big is it going to be? How much money are you going to make? Do you want to buy a house, buy 10 houses? Do you want to have, $1 million, 10 million, or do you want to have £1 billion? And they always go for the billion, and usually tell them, okay, that's fine. The first thing, probably you need to be a sociopath. And I try to explain how big $1 billion is by telling them the story of, imagine it's 1492 March, I think. Columbus has just left to go find India, and he will actually find America. And you get hired and you have a new job, and you're paid $5,000 a day, every day of the week. All right? It's a good job, and you just keep doing it. In some strange way, you live for 500 years, and you're still around today, and you're still doing the same job, and you're still paying $5,000 a day. You haven't earned $1 billion yet.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting a scale on it, isn't it?
And it's a famous, a million seconds ago is 11 days, 1 billion seconds ago is 31 years. We don't have the concept of how big this number, and 1 trillion is 1,000 times as much.
It's an insane amount of money, that's for sure. And I was thinking, as you described the responsibility that companies like Apple have to understand the environment they enter into and influence. But it sort of takes us back to the one we've been round and round and round again about Facebook and what its responsibility is in terms of what we do with the platform. It's sort of similar. And I used to be much more confident about saying technology is neutral. It depends what you do with it. But I'm far from so convinced nowadays. Don't know.
No, technology is not neutral because the technology is an expression of humans. I mean, technology doesn't come from heaven. It's people that do technology, and it tends to be fucked up people, and sometimes they do fucked up technology. So it's just the way it is.
And just because there's a market for something doesn't make it morally right or justifiable. Yeah.
Absolutely no. Yeah. So, yes, all these companies do have a responsibility. And I think that very often they just get away. And, I would be happy if they had even more influence and more responsibility, and they would spend more time thinking about it. So,
that goes back to both of us saying we trust them more than our own
governments.
It's a sort of a rock and a hard place at the moment.
Well,
isn't
it? I mean, I'm not saying that I'd rather live in Apple country than in the UK, but most definitely when I need to decide between Apple and Google deciding on my privacy and the British government, I have very little doubt. And look, and it's a matter of competence. I completely appreciate that. Maybe less for Apple, but more for Google. There are very, very strong market influences that basically pull them away from the interest of customers. But still, I personally know way more smart people working at Google and Apple than working for the British government.
It's that, isn't it? It's not Machiavellian levels of. It's just competence.
Yeah.
And this was what I posed. There was a great rundown of the very likely sequence of events around the British tracking app, and it's worth digging out. If people go and have a look at my feed, you'll find it there. But it was basically so predictable that it fell apart. It's sadly predictable. I mean, how many of us have seen?
We said this. I mean, I'm pretty sure we covered this in an episode 3 months ago, and we said it's not going to work.
And if we could see that, why couldn't they?
Because they are a bunch of idiots. I mean, that is the truth.
Well, let's be more specific. They're institutionalized. I mean, that's partly what happens. The institutional culture of civil service departments, or frankly, most IT departments. And, I've seen that tension between your average corporate IT department and their possibly well-intentioned desire to control, minimize risk, blah, 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 compared to the Silicon Valley geeky, webby, let's have a go and make the world better kind of approach. And I've always been drawn to the latter rather than the former. And it's partly because the former just doesn't make shit happen. It's built to try and stop stuff happening, not to enable it.
Look, I mean, I think that I can think of two possible ways this story. And, so what is the decision process that led them to make the wrong decision? So the first could have been researchers in, I think, predominantly Oxford were saying, if we can have more information about the users, about where they go, if we can track location and we can track names, we can predict better the evolution of the epidemic. And I said, well, but Apple doesn't want you to do that. Apple, Google is not allowing to do that. And so at that point, they either said, we are the British government, we are influential, we'll force Apple and Google to give us access to those APIs, or we have no idea what you're talking about, why don't you go and try doing it anyway?
Yeah.
So either they had no idea of the technology, so somebody who was not competent, because I'm pretty sure that the developers at the company told them, no, sorry, sir, we can't do that. I said, well, you have to do that.
Yeah.
And, go back and try harder, young man. And
yes. We're paying you to do this.
Yeah. Or on the other hand, they said, because if you have seen, I don't know who was, probably Matt Hancock, one of those guys. He was this petty thing and saying, "Oh, it's not our fault. It's Apple and Google that don't give us access to the thing. It's their fault." It's like, oh, come on, really? And this.
Yes, it was all such sort of superficial, partial understanding, throwing the weight around,
and honestly,
just depoliticize it and get some real geeks to talk to each other.
I completely understand that stunt probably convinced a certain amount of voters, and this is exactly what happened. The government was doing the right thing, and these evil techie hippies at Apple and Google prevented the government from doing it. But it's sad. I mean, I don't know, because I've read numbers ranging from 300,000, which would already sound like a lot of money, to 11 million pounds that might have been spent on this. I have no idea what the actual number is, but
well, it's a drop in the ocean compared to the 24 billion they wasted 4 or 5 years ago on the centralized record system.
It's sad. So, would you move to Apple country where everything?
Well, funnily enough, when you said that, I thought, that campus looked damned attractive with the gardens and the grasses in the middle, and I don't know.
You get the gym, the park, the trees.
Yeah, good food.
Well, American food, but.
Well, that's true. But it's California American food, so it's
organic. It's
edible.
definitely very organic.
Yeah. Definitely organic.
No.
Yeah. I could get a very cool emoji, Memoji.
Yeah.
I could get one personally made for me. That
diverse Memoji.
Yeah.
I actually updated my Memoji with longer hair.
Did you? You're very sad, Paul.
Well, actually, Friday of next week, I'm booked at my guy in Italy and a haircut. Yes. I'm actually thinking of kind of keeping them a little bit flowing.
All right. You like the sort of Oscar Wilde look, do you?
Yeah. But I mean, it needs to get a little bit under control. But I think that this, I'll just stick with this until we find a vaccine. Speaking of emojis and bots, I had this funny experience last week. I was on a Zoom call with somebody from a large company, and they had one of these bots that creates notes for the call. It basically, text to speech. They take notes. And what happened is at some point her internet went down, so she disappeared, and I was left in this Zoom room with the bot. So I started talking to the bot.
Was it more rewarding than this podcast, Paolo? Was it?
Well, I basically wonder if she ever went back and read what I told the bot.
Did the bot interrupt you? That's the big question.
No. The bot was just sitting there, hopefully taking notes. But I invite everybody, if you find yourself in this situation, it's just you and the bot, just say some shit to the bot and see if anybody reads it later. Because I honestly don't think that anybody does that. But
no, I know, it's so true. I mean, I've often thought that about note-taking, and I've kind of got deep into the whole Zettelkasting thing recently about joining up your notes wiki style, and I eventually just ground to a halt and thought, you know what, I'm never going to look at them. What's the point?
Yeah, I mean, my notes have a maybe 40 hours lifespan, where there might be some chances that if I'm actually talking about a meeting I had with somebody else, I might go back to the note and just to remember something or numbers. After that point, chances of me getting back to a note just become very, very small. Chances of me looking at, I mean, I have saved all my notebooks in history. I never ever went back to an old notebook to find anything.
Yeah, I've got a big shelf of them. Yeah. What does sometimes happen, and this is me geeking out again on Drafts, the app that just is the love of my life. I just keep finding cool things that I can do with it. And if you haven't heard me rant about it before, it's a plain text app that lets me write in Markdown and just is really easy to organise notes, share notes, do stuff with whatever you've written, and I love it to bits.
I wonder if with the new pencil support in iOS, I will be able to use my pencil with Draft. That would be
There's
cool.
a prospect. Well, I bet you Greg's on the case because he's just this incredible developer who seems on his own to manage to do stuff that others with massive teams just don't. But the point was that he, so there's now a very effective search in the Drafts app. And so what I do find sometimes is if I'm searching for a topic or even if I just start typing a topic, it prompts me with things that I've written about already. And that can be useful. But it has meant, to be useful, I'm inclined to put all of my stuff in drafts, which is cool because it's really small, lightweight, doesn't take an awful lot of effort to manage it. As soon as I've tagged something, it's out the inbox and I don't need to look at it again. But it means that if I do a search, I'm searching pretty much everything I've written. And that becomes slightly interesting. I just love the app so much.
Yeah, I mean, there are some apps that just makes you happy.
Yeah, I just want to go and play with it. I like the way it looks. I like what it does. I like the fact that I'm getting sent endorphin rushes when he comes up with something else cool. That's what we're really talking about, isn't it? All the way back to the beginning of the podcast. It's that little endorphin rush when you get a new kick from technology that you think, it's like buying a new book, isn't it? This book will make it all better. You know, it's like this bit of technology will just make life better until the next one.
Yeah, no, but the excitement, I mean, I do feel the excitement of new features in products is the fact that tomorrow I got to try a new thing. How good is that?
It's like Christmas. I know.
Yeah, no, it's like, I mean, we have Christmas every day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're lucky.
Well, there you go.
This happy note.
I was going to say, we managed a happy note again. That was good.
Exactly. That's a way to close our 27th episode, I think. Next, I think that in 2 weeks, we have been doing this for 2 years.
No.
Yep.
Wow. Who'd have thunk?
So thank you very much for listening.
See you next time.